Part 23. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhjiao 11U. Chapter 223. Sukingnao never regretted it. Reading, I felt quite emotional when I saw that a lot of fertile fields were left uncultivated and turned into fields of thorns. But after a year and a half of hard work, the food grown is not enough to be handed over, so why do farmers spend so much energy growing it? And even before the crops and vegetables grow, there are countless people watching with green eyes, stealing and grabbing them when they are not prepared. Why bother growing it when you can't eat it after all the hard work? You still have to spend money to buy seeds. The fertile fields were thus laid waste. Does Sukingyu want to grow food? She thought. In troubled times, nothing is more important than filling your stomach. However, seeds are not easy to purchase. Now farmers outside, even those who originally had seeds at home, use them as food. Then he tentatively said, Guanxi Li, can you help me get some grain seeds? They are suitable for planting in our area. I will take them to the mountains and try them. If they can be planted, after the grain is harvested, as long as the price is right, Guanxi Li, I'm also willing to sell it to you. Manager Li was overjoyed. Okay. I'll take care of this. When spring starts, I'll send the seeds to Mrs. Su. Thank you very much, Manager Li. When Manager Li was leaving, he remembered that the governor's office had asked him to bring 2 letters to Sukingyu. I had forgotten that Manager Pei heard that I was coming to see you and asked me to bring you 2 letters. My letter? Yes. Sukingyu felt excited. Took it? I just looked at the envelope and felt very excited, but I couldn't open it in front of everyone, so I calmly put them into my sleeves. After bidding farewell to Manager Li, he hurried back to the village with the letter in hand. Xiaobao, there is a letter from your father, and a letter from your grandparents. Sukingyu returned to the house and opened the letter from Su's father and mother. The letter was written by Qing Yang. He said that Su's father and mother Su cried and laughed when they learned about her whereabouts and that she and Xiaobao were still alive. He also said that he used to think that they couldn't sleep at night. She said that her brother also wanted to see her and Xiaobao, but her brother said that he had not met Xiaobao yet. He also said that they are now in Chenzhou with their eldest brother. I live in the second small courtyard where my sister-in-law came with me as a dowry. The eldest sister-in-law is the concubine of the eldest brother Shang Feng. She is pregnant now and will give birth after the Chinese New Year. My elder brother goes to the yamen every day and has a salary. There is also a servant in the house who is brought in by his sister-in-law as a dowry. Life is getting along pretty well. Occasionally, his brother would take him and Qing Xin to ride horses. Said that they all missed her and Xiaobao. I wonder if he has grown up a bit and still remembers them. Qing Xin also wrote a paragraph, saying that her parents' and brother's money had been given to her sister-in-law for household purposes, but she still kept the money. I originally wanted to buy some local products to send to Xiaobao, but my sister-in-law said it was not safe on the road, so she didn't buy them. Su's father and Su's mother asked her and Xiaobao to be good, saying they didn't know when they would see each other again. Said her mother missed them and cried again. As for her aunt, the man Kixia married was kind to her and very filial to her aunt and uncle. Just miss them. Qing Xin also said that she would save money so that she could find her sister in the future. Sukingyu read the letter several times before accepting it and fell silent. Father Su and Mother Su are both farmers and are used to working in the countryside. Now that they live in the city, they will be bored if they have nothing to do. Is my brother getting married? She's almost going to have a baby. This sister-in-law, Qing Xin, seems to have some objections to her. They all live in the yard where my sister-in-law is dowry. It seems that my brother doesn't have much savings. Shang Feng's daughter lives in the house given by her in-laws again. My brother is afraid that he won't be able to speak forcefully in front of the Yu family. Her parents are both honest people, but I'm afraid it will be difficult to hold up their heads in front of my sister-in-law's family. Sukingyu thought for a while, then put the letter down and opened Lu Bachan's letter. After reading, touch your forehead. Tisk tisk, what a scumbag. What is this all about? No content. I just miss her and his son. Can't you say something else? His son is only 2 years old. Are you starting to save gold for him and prepare to buy him a property in the future? It's really far-reaching. Sukingyu pouted. That small jar of gold will probably make it hard for me to sleep well. Tisk tisk. He didn't write anything, not even his situation in the military camp, his training, or his daily routine. There are 2 contents, one is to miss her and her son, and the other is to save a small pot of gold for her and her son. So many pages were written about these 2 things. It's a waste of paper and ink. Tisk tisk. Mother, mother. When Xiaobao saw her coming back, he got into the house. He didn't see her come out for most of the day, so he was anxious. He picked up the door frame and raised his legs to come in. He called her while picking up the door frame. Hey, mother is here. Sukingnao wiped her tears and received the letter. Xiaobao, come. Xiaobao looked up and saw his mother answered him, then looked down at the threshold. Carefully, he lifted one leg over the threshold, then the other. After everyone came in, they trotted towards Sukingyu and threw themselves into her arms. Mother. Why? Sukingyu picked him up and said, Mom is reading a letter from your maternal grandparents and uncle and aunt to Xiaobao. And your father Mrs. Xiaobao. Xiaobao looked at her with twinkling eyes. He didn't remember so many people. Just remember the last one. Daddy. Yes, Daddy. Daddy Mrs. Xiaobao. Think. Xiaobao wants to do it too. Do you want to let Daddy know? Do you want Xiaobao to write a letter to Daddy? Xiaobao didn't know if he understood it, so he nodded, believe it? Okay. Can you accompany Xiaobao to write letters to his father and grandparents? Good. Sukingyu hugged him and sat down at the table, spread out the letter and answered the letter. In the letter to Lu Bachan, Xiaobao's little hands and feet were stamped with ink and pressed on white paper. Didn't he miss his son? If he couldn't see him, he would hold his little hands and feet and think about it. In the letter to Su's father and mother, she wrote some information about her and Xiaobao's current situation. I stuffed 200 taels of silver notes into the letter. Let them use the money to buy a small courtyard in the city. If possible, the family can live there, and then leave the house where the sister-in-law is dowry empty or rent it. He also packed up some furry mountain goods, and selected a golden bell from the gifts given to Xiaobao by the governor's wife to give to his unborn nephew. Packed a big package. Called Si Yuan, you two help me go to Renzhou, please help me deliver these 2 letters to the governor's office. There are 3 packages, one is sent to Fengxiang and the other is sent to Quanzhou. This one is a New Year's gift for the governor's office. If it cannot be sent to Quanzhou and Fengxiang, you can take it back. Yes. Oh, that's right. Sukingyu thought for a moment and stopped them again. Help me ask Mr. Pei if there are any old books that his children don't want when they are studying. Just 1 or 2 books will do. If there are, you can wrap them in Chenzou's package and send them out together. Yes, the 2 responded and left. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bha Xiaoye 11U. Chapter 224. A few days later, when brothers Si Yuan and Si Yuan returned from Renzhou, Sukingyu was wrapped up like a bear and went into the cave with Zongjai leader to see the growth of vegetables. Red. After looking at a few holes, she was a little disappointed. The temperature in this hole is okay, but without photosynthesis, vegetables will not grow well. The leaves are not green, yellow, and wilted. The piece that grows at the entrance of the cave looks fine. When it comes to growing vegetables in caves, based on this situation, it should be possible to grow garlic and leeks. In addition to the requirements for temperature and ventilation, the most important thing for these two dishes is to shield them from light. It should be possible to grow them in a cave. It's a pity that she doesn't have chive seeds, but there are garlic seeds, but she didn't think of it before. Sukingyu turned around and realized that there was no way to grow vegetables in this cave, so it was a bit of a waste. But, it should be possible to grow mushrooms, right? But how to plant it? Still have to think about it? Pull out all these vegetables. I'm afraid they won't grow big. It's okay to eat some sprouts, Sukingyu said to the ants around her. What a shame. The Zongjai leader lamented repeatedly. He felt happy when he saw that the vegetable seeds had sprouted and were growing well. Who would have thought that after just a few days, he would start to fail? It's okay. We tried it this year, and we'll know how to do it next year. And we can grow bean sprouts and eat them. Go back to the village and find some mung beans, soybeans, and black beans, sprinkle them on top, and we'll eat them in 6 or 7 days. Several aunts and mothers-in-law who were responsible for growing vegetables in the cave also lamented the pity. They carry soil, water, fertilize, and take care of it every day. I was thinking about eating it in winter, but I still couldn't. But now I heard Sukingyu say that it can also be used to grow bean sprouts, and I immediately cheered up again. Bean sprouts, they have been planted on the ground, who can't do it? Even though it had never been published before, I understood it just after listening to Sukingyu. He immediately cheered up and went back to the village to get the seeds. Fortunately, the vegetables in the greenhouse are growing very well. We will pick some later and put them into the porridge-based hot pot. The taste. The leader of Zongjai snorted as he spoke, and Sukingyu heard the sound of saliva very clearly. I couldn't help but laugh. This old kid is real. Eat the marrow and know the taste. Okay, let's go pick some side dishes to eat in the hot pot. Okay. Then I'll go find the basket. When the Zhone village master heard that there was hot pot with porridge base again, he was as happy as a child. The two of them left the cave and walked home. Sukingyu thought for a while, and then went to the mountain gate with Master Zhone. It's freezing cold and everyone is staying at home. However, there are still 2 people on duty on the wall of the village gate. Otherwise, why build a defense fortification? Just for show? However, the winter is cold, and the time for changing the guard is also shorter, changing 1 guard every hour. When Sukingyu and Master Zonghan arrived, they saw 2 young men in the village. One was walking up and down the city wall with his hands on his hands to check the surrounding situation, and the other was keeping warm in the gatehouse of the village. From time to time, they would switch between the two. Fortunately, a fire pit was built in the gatehouse of the village. Otherwise, the cold wind roared at the mountain gate, and the wind felt like a knife cutting on the face. It would be impossible for ordinary people to stand for an hour continuously. Both young men were wrapped like bears, with only their eyes exposed. Seeing them coming, I took off my hat. Ms. Su, the leader of the village. Sukingyu nodded to them, thank you for your hard work. The two of them were a little excited as they didn't expect Madame Su and Master Zhone to come to see them. It's not hard, it's not hard. We alternate between the two of us. There is a fire kong in the gatehouse, and there is a fire basket to carry when I'm on duty on the gatehouse. It's not cold. And someone will come to replace us in a while. Okay. Pay attention to the cold and don't freeze. Although it's cold, don't be careless. Yes, the two of them agreed. The leader of Zongjai was very satisfied with them, but he still said, keep your eyes brighter. Don't just stare at one place. In the past, when thieves invaded, there was no one on guard duty. Now that the conditions are there, if you still go out, if you make a mistake, I will peel off your skin. No, our eyes are open. Whoever dares to come over, just dodge him with an arrow. Well, Don't just talk without practicing. Yes. Suking Nao heard from Si Yuan that the men in the village had been practicing with them for so long and it was quite effective. There should be some improvement in the force value. On such a cold day, she just wanted to live in peace, and then the cat would be at home, baking millet for Xiaobao to eat. Suking Yu walked around the mountain gate and stood on the gate tower for a while. Seeing that nothing happened, she went back to the village with the Zongjai leader. There is fine snow falling in the sky. The tops of the mountains were covered with a layer of snow, but when it fell into the village, it turned into water. On the mountain road in the village, the snow turned into water. When I stepped on it, it was a little muddy, and there was a thin layer of ice on the road. It was very slippery. Sukingyu had only walked a short distance and already slipped several times. Sure enough, winter is only suitable for cats. Seeing that she was not used to walking on the mountain roads in winter, the owner of Zongjai asked her to go home, and he carried a basket and went to pick vegetables. Thinking of eating hot pot with porridge, I took small steps steadily and quickly. Let Suking Nao feel inferior. When Sukingyu returned home, she found that Si Yuan had returned from Renzo. Miss. You're back. Is everything going well? Very smooth. Si Yuan nodded. Si Yuan also replied, Miss, the governor's office left those 2 packages. The one sent to Fengxiang just happened to be sent to Kyoto by the governor's office, so they sent it together. The one going to Chenzhou was taken away by Manager Li, saying that there happens to be a caravan heading towards Chenzhou. Sukingyu caught Xiaobao who rushed towards him, and while leading him towards the house, she nodded, Manager Li hasn't left yet. He didn't leave before. He came out of the city gate with us. Sukingyu nodded after hearing this. By the way, Miss, when the governor's office heard that the Mrs. brother wanted to study but had no books, he happily collected a lot of books, saying they were for the young master. I packed them all in the package. Sukingyu was very happy to hear this, and then sighed, I owe Master Pei another favor. Your Excellency knew that Miss would say this. He said that Mrs. Mountain goods were sent to Chang'an, and Chang'an wrote back saying that they wanted it. Sukingyu breathed a sigh of relief, that's good. The 2 also took back the New Year's gift from the governor's mansion, half of which was Xiaobao's food and cloth. Half of it is rice, flour, grains, oil, salt, soy sauce, vinegar, etc. Nowadays, it is impossible to buy food outside, and it is difficult for ordinary people to buy oil, salt, sauce, vinegar, and other items even if they have money. It was so cold that within 2 days, the snow became heavier and heavier. There was no snow before, but now there is snow that is not too thin. Si Yuan goes out to sweep snow every day. Lu and Ruyi would sit on the Kong every day and make all kinds of winter clothes for Xiaobao. Earbags, muffs, gloves, leather hats, small leather boots, footwear, all kinds. Just afraid of freezing him. Xiaobao had frostbite on his hands and feet before, so Lu and Ruyi paid special attention to it, fearing that he wouldn't be able to withstand the cold and dampness in the mountains, so they had to rub hot ginger slices on his little hands and feet every day. And Sukingyu didn't want to go out, so she stayed on the Kong, teasing Xiaobao, getting him food, or making plans for the spring village. The cat stayed in the village all winter. There was food to drink, and my son to keep me company. Times are not hard. But she didn't know that the 2 letters she sent had caused quite a reaction. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhjiaoye 11U. Chapter 225. When Sukingyu's letter was delivered to Chenzhou, it was already after the Lantern Festival. Suking Song's eldest son was born on the 6th day of the Lunar New Year. His mother raised him well, and he was white and fat when he was born, and he was loved by the whole family. But Sue's father and Sue's mother were only happy for a few days, and then they couldn't be happy anymore. The daughter-in-law thought they didn't know how to take care of the child, so she hired a wet nurse. Later, when she saw that one wet nurse was too busy, her in-laws sent another one. Sue's father and Sue's mother felt a little uncomfortable. They had nothing to do and they happened to be taking care of their grandson. But their daughter-in-law didn't even bring them to her. They can only visit a few times every day. Although there are people everywhere now looking for something to do, and those looking for a job only want food and clothing and a shelter, not much. But the two wet nurses also need food, drink, and monthly payments. And the daughter-in-law can't breastfeed by herself? How hard can breastfeeding be? If you find it difficult, they can help you. The daughter-in-law takes care of her during the day, and they take care of her at night. There are also uncles and aunts at home who can help. Is it necessary for a small family to hire two wet nurses? The couple didn't understand. I just feel sorry for my son's hard work. Su Ching-song was a 7th grade captain, and his salary was not high to begin with. When his son was born, a lot of new expenses were added. Rice, noodles, and vegetables are also expensive. My family often receives their salary at the beginning of the month, but it bottoms out at the end of the month. The family has no other income except Su King-song's salary. If the couple were still in the countryside, they would still be able to get some subsidies for rice, noodles, and vegetables, but now the whole family has to rely on Ching-song for food and drink. My daughter-in-law is also a spendthrift. A newborn needs to make good use of everything. The diapers and old linen used for children feel wronged by the children. Use cotton or silk cloth. It cost another fortune to bathe the child. The daughter-in-law is not one to be outdone by others, and she made a big deal of hosting the child's baptism banquet. Many people came to her parents' house, and her daughter-in-law bought a lot of clothes and jewelry to show her face in front of her sisters. But Qingyang Qingxing said it was cold in winter, and they couldn't even ask for a winter coat for their children. If he spends Qingxing's money, his daughter-in-law will come to ask questions again. The couple had no choice but to hide in the kitchen with Qingyang and Qingxing to keep warm. Qing-song didn't even get a 2-day break during his years, and was always out picking up jobs. Sue's father and Sue's mother watched him go out in the morning and come back covered with stars and moon every day, with a layer of snow falling on his body and head, making him tremble with the cold. The couple saw it in their eyes and felt pain in their hearts. During the year, my son took them to the Gu family. Everyone of the Gu family was well dressed, with all kinds of jewelry on their hands and heads shining with all kinds of lights, but they were the only ones who were shabbily dressed. The two of them didn't even have a bite to eat, and they didn't know where to put their hands and feet. At night, the couple tossed and turned, unable to fall asleep, sighing. Green poplars and green apricots don't like to go out as soon as winter comes. It was so cold that I was shivering as soon as I left the house. The two of them stayed indoors during the day, or went to see their little nephew. But later I didn't want to go. One time Qingxing came into the house and touched her nephew, but Guruyu scolded her, saying that she had spread the coldness to the child. Qingyang Qingxing was even more reluctant to leave the house. The brother and sister were bored staying at home. They wanted to write a letter to their sister, but they were afraid of wasting paper and ink. This is how the new year ends. By the time I received the second letter from Su Qingyu, it was already the Lantern Festival and the end of the first year. Su Qing-song came back with a big package. Sue's mother, Sue's father, and Qingyang Qingxing, everyone gathered around to watch excitedly. Qingyang got those books and happily held them in her arms. She was so excited that she had tears in her eyes. Qingxing felt a lot warmer as she touched the fur again and again. Father Su and Mother Su touched those rare mountain treasures. The couple thought of their old days in Kyoto village and Fengting town, feeling happy and nostalgic at the same time. Suching Song held the golden bell and the 200 taels of silver notes in his hands and remained silent. Su's mother was still looking at various mountain products, but Su's father moved his eyes back from the mountain products and looked at Ching Song. Son, your sister said that you can use these 200 taels to buy a small courtyard in the city so that our family can live there. What do you think? Or is this money not enough? Suching Song shook his head. The money is enough. Nowadays, many people in the city have fled to the countryside or other places. There are a lot of empty houses in the city and they are not expensive. These 200 taels can buy a better 3/4 house. Entered the hospital. That's good. It's enough for our family to live in. Mother Su was very happy when she heard this. My sister and Xiaobao are orphaned and widowed outside. Not only did I fail to help her, I also asked her to worry about me. Suching Song felt a little uncomfortable. Su's father patted him on the shoulder. The family doesn't speak the same language as those two families. Your sister has become enlightened since she got married, and she has quite a business acumen. Now that she is selling mountain goods, she can live a good life. You have to go. She also feels sorry for you and us, so she gives you money to buy a yard. It's your sister's wish. Su Qingnao was afraid that the letter would not fall into their hands, so she didn't say much else in the letter. I just said that I collected some mountain products in the autumn and sold them, and got some money. Now that I live in the mountains, my life is relatively peaceful. After spring, we will open up some mountainous areas and plant some things. Su's father was very moved after hearing this. He doesn't know anything else except working in the fields. I have worked in the fields all my life, and now I am free and living in the city. I face the yard when I get up, and I spend most of my time in the yard. Everything feels wrong. If possible, he would like to find a young prostitute. Su's mother also advised him, just keep what your sister gave you. Look for a suitable house in the city and buy a big one so that everyone can live there. It will be comfortable and happy. Suching Song lowered his eyes. He was not unaware of the atmosphere at home. It's just that there are wives and children on one side and parents and brothers on the other. He was originally a country boy and didn't have much ability. By saving Master Ma's life, he could become a 7th grade captain by his side. It was like smoke rising from his ancestral grave. I'm afraid he wouldn't be able to get any further in the future. Apart from having some strength, he is not very good at martial arts. My little salary is barely enough to support my family. But my wife's expenses are too high and she always wants the best. She always has to compare with her sisters. He had already said that he was just an ordinary country boy and could not compare with those children from wealthy aristocratic families, but his wife just couldn't listen. Suching Song sighed, okay, then I'll go outside and look for it tomorrow. Mother Su was very happy. Who wants to live in his daughter-in-law's dowry house when he can live in his own house? Then he said, okay. Ruyu is still in confinement, and your father can't go. Mom, please show her these things. It will also make her happy. Let Xiaoling take a look too, because her second aunt is thinking about him. And gave him a gift. Look at this bell, our little Ling will be lively, cute, and smart in the future. Suching Song was very happy to hear this and followed Su's mother to carry the things to the backyard. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bha Xiaoye 11U. Chapter 226. After Su's mother and Suching Song left, Ching Xin curled her lips. Red. She didn't know whether her sister-in-law was happy or not, but she would definitely keep those pieces of fur. She is very cold this winter, and she also wants some fur clothes. Su's father glanced at her and lectured, your sister-in-law is the mistress of this house. When your sister sends things home, of course you have to show them to her and let her distribute them. You make this expression because you want me to beat you. Ching Xin snorted and pulled Qing Yang into the house. Brother, my sister sent you a lot of books. Ye Qingyang grinned, smiling so unhappy. The brother and sister picked up the books and started flipping through them. Qingyang saw that Qingxing was so cold that she stamped her feet and advised, "How about we go out and buy 2 thick clothes? If my sister-in-law asks, she can just say that it was my sister who gave us the money." Qingxing thought for a while, then shook her head, "No, the first month of the year is almost over, and I've endured it until now. I want to keep the money. I'm in the house, there's a brazier, it's not cold." Qingyang nodded, "Okay. Then let's cover up and watch." "Good." After a while, Qingxing asked again, "Brother, do you think my sister-in-law will agree to move out?" Qingyang thought for a while, "Yes. My brother said that 200 taels can buy a big house with 3 incomes. Who doesn't like living in a big house?" Qingxing shook her head, "I don't think she can." "Why?" "I can't tell. But I don't think she will." Qingyang looked at her and couldn't figure it out, so he pulled her and covered the 2 of them with quilts. The brother and sister hid under the quilt and read a book. The green apricots are well prepared. Guruyu disagrees with moving out. Living in her own house, her husband's family would all watch her face. She could make her own decisions and do whatever she wanted, and no one in her husband's family would dare to refute her. But once she moves out, does she want to see other people's faces? Are you afraid to look at the faces of your parents-in-law? How can it be? After Sue's mother left, Guruyu advised softly, "We have a house to live in, why should we spend money to buy another house? Now many houses in the city are empty, who should we rent them to? If the house is empty, it will be rented to us soon. It's ruined. Isn't this throwing money into the water?" Seeing that Suqingsong was silent, he added, "And you are working so hard now and haven't had a good rest for years. Now that the family has added another child, it is time to use money to buy a house, and then the family will be miserable. Do you want to live a better life? I admit that I am not as good as my sisters, but my son cannot live as well as others." Seeing that Suqingsong was a little moved, he persuaded, "And if there is an emergency at home, if money is needed, or if Mr. Ma moves to another place, let our family follow him. The house will not be sold by then, and the money will be lost. No, what should I do? It's better to have money in your hand." Suqingsong was silent and said, "Then I'll think about it." Guruyu raised the corner of her mouth. "Okay, then you have to think about it carefully. Leave the money with me first. Tell your parents that if you need anything, just come to me. We are a family, and a family should understand each other and live together." After speaking, he glanced at Suqingsong and said, "Xiaoling will definitely like this bell. I really want to thank his second aunt. I will keep one of these furs, one for Xiaoling, and you can give the rest to Dad, Mother and Kingxing Qinjiang." Suqingsong confirmed that she only had 2 pieces left, then moved the other furs out. Let's talk about Lu Bachan. When autumn came, they received military orders asking their Fengxiang army to send troops to Chenzhou. Lu Bachan is also on the list. Unexpectedly, halfway through the journey, the team received another military order, asking them to change their route and go to capture the eastern capital. "Okay, if you change the route, just change the route. Military obedience is a duty. Besides, who dares to disobey orders if there is an imperial edict? It's not like the 9-tailed fox has 9 lives, and its head isn't strong enough to cut it off at will." The team then transferred to Dongdu. Before that, the military towns surrounding Dongdu besieged Dongdu and could not be conquered for a long time. Now that Wanghu has been withdrawn, I heard that hundreds of thousands of troops have been taken away, leaving only an empty shell in the eastern capital. Do they still need people to support them? Anyway, Lu Bachan couldn't help but want to complain. But he cherishes his life very much now. His son is only 2 years old, and the gold he has saved is not enough for his son to buy a property, So he can't give up easily. If you can hold back your temper, endure it. If you want to go to Chenzhou, go to Chenzhou, and if you want to support Dongdu, just go. Defending the city in the Gobi Desert is not much better anyway. After attacking Dongdu for half a month, it was finally captured by a group of soldiers from Shuo dynasty. Just when Feng Xiang's army wanted to enter the city, they received another military order asking them to return to Feng Xiang, saying that there was something strange in Tubo. It was said that it was too cold this year and many cattle and sheep froze to death, and they were afraid that Tibetans would invade the country and plunder them. Good guy, we have reached the gate of Dongdu. It's time to divide the spoils based on merit. But Feng Xiang's army couldn't even enter the gate of Dongdu. Are they going to turn around and go back to Feng Xiang? Marshal Kui Sheng, are you afraid you have a grudge against Emperor Shuo? It was the same last time, when they drove Wang Hu out of Chang'an and chased him all the way. Wang Hu threw all the valuables on the road and let Zhu Quanzhong and others who were chasing him eat until they were full. Kui Sheng, who had half of the credit, was called out. I'm back. That time everyone was holding back their anger. Now that Dongdu is right in front of us, Wang Hu has become emperor in Dongdu. How can we not leave anything behind? When you come to the door, do you want to turn around and go back to Feng Xiang? I don't know how other people felt, but Lu Bachan held a breath in his chest. He also wanted to ask Marshal Kui like other generals. He wanted to ask Marshal Kui Sheng, did you steal Emperor Shuo's woman? Let him be so guarded against you, afraid that you will become bigger? The Feng Xiang army, from top to bottom, was so angry. Not to mention the hardships they suffered in Feng Xiang, many brothers died in this attack on Dongdu. In the end, they didn't get any credit or spoils. Which military town is as obedient as Feng Xiang now? They went to Chenzhou when they were told to go, and they went to Dongdu when they were told to go. But while others were eating meat, the Feng Xiang army didn't even get a drop of soup. I just want to ask the person above, aren't you afraid that the Feng Xiang army will rebel? Lu Bachan returned to Feng Xiang in one breath, not wanting to worry about anything, and went to the city wall to stand guard with his gun. Facing the Gobi Desert, although he was blowing the wind and eating dirt, he could at least calm down. However, he couldn't calm down immediately. Because he received a letter from Suqing'an. He was so happy that he almost jumped up. He immediately forgot about the unhappy things. Especially when he saw his son's little hands and feet printed on the paper in the letter, LV Bachan was so excited that he wanted to hold them and kiss them. His wife was so educated that he loved to read every word of the letter she wrote. She also said that he was thinking too far ahead. His son was only 2 years old. He was thinking about buying a property so far away. Why not hone his skills and improve himself with that little time? Well, he was scolded by his wife again. But he liked to be scolded by his wife. LV Bachan grinned. His heart was jumping with joy. His wife also said that the letter he wrote had no content, but he obviously wrote a lot well, write more next time. LV Bachan held the letter happily and read it again and again. He liked to read his wife's letter, and he liked every word. That's right, it was a little less, not good enough. It would be great if his son could write. He could write a few words to his father and say that he missed him. After reading it several times, he put the letter away and called out, "Go WA, go WA. Madam, she has a tender heart." Author, Ba Jiaoye 11U. Chapter 227. General. Reed Guwa came running up and down. My wife said she sent me a big package. Where are the items? Go WA touched his head. No, the messenger only gave us a dozen letters and nothing else. Lu Bachan confirmed again and again that there was really nothing else except the letter. That anger in my heart. He rubbed the spear with his toes and let it roll to his feet. Then he lifted his toes and kicked the spear into the air. He stretched out his hand to grab it, held it in his hand, and descended from the tower with a frosty look on his face. The lady said in the letter that she had sent him a package. In the package were some shoes and socks made for him, and a big sweater. Thinking that he might need more shoes, I made many pairs of shoes with thick multi-layer soles. I also made some dried meat, dried fruits, vegetables, and some nuts. Save it for him to eat. There are also millet harvested in the mountains. Xiaobao loves to eat. When winter comes, she stays at home with Xiaobao, and Xiaobao clings to her. Mother and son nestle next to the brazier, one roasting millet and the other waiting to eat. Xiaobao likes to eat millet very much, and after eating 7 or 8, he still wants to eat it. I have 2 puppies as playmates, and I feed the puppies as well. Lu Bachan felt beautiful as he thought about his son whom he had never met. He also wanted to see how delicious the millet was, which would make his son unable to stop eating. He might as well bake it and eat it once. Who would have thought that this is only a letter, not a package? My wife mentioned in her letter that she had made him big sweaters and clothes, brought him many pairs of thick-soled shoes, and brought him a lot of food. This turned out not to be the case. It was obvious that he had been fooled. If it were anything else, it would be fine with Lu Bachan, but the clothes and shoes that his wife made for him cannot be given to others. Lu Bachan was so angry that he rushed to the messenger with his gun. Kicked the door open. The messengers who were warming themselves by the fire in the house were frightened. Seeing that it was Lu Bachan, he suddenly felt courageous. Lu Bachan, you are going to rebel. Lu Bachan is no longer a 4th-grade general. A soldier guarding the city wall is lower than them. How can they be afraid of him? Besides, the superiors are tired of him, so no matter how many military achievements he has made, he may not be able to get promoted. Where is my package? Lu Bachan asked them coldly. What package? My family has sent me a letter and a package. Why is there only a letter but no package? Lu Bachan said again patiently. Upon hearing this, several messenger soldiers sat back down by the brazier. He stretched out his hands to the brazier to keep warm. Without even looking at him, he said calmly, how do we know this? We will give you whatever we have. If you don't have it, we can't change it. Lu Bachan didn't believe it, so he rummaged around the house with his spear in hand. Lu Bachan, what are you going to do? Several messengers rushed to stop him, but they couldn't stop Lu Bachan. We all said no more, don't you understand human language? Lu Bachan didn't care, thinking that the clothes and shoes and socks his wife had made for him stitch by stitch would fall into other people's hands, and his heart was burning. I searched the house for a long time and found nothing. Lu Bachan took their collars and asked them again, but he didn't find out anything. The fuss was so outrageous that Go Wa hurriedly called Kui Sheng over. Let go. Bo Cheng, let go. Kui Sheng rushed over and shouted to stop Lu Bachan. After hearing the reason, I asked several messengers, but no one admitted that they had received the package. What can I do? I can only do it. Kui Sheng led Lu Bachan back to the military tent, hating that iron could not become steel. You offended the courier soldiers for a package. You're really promising. Do you want to receive and send mails normally in the future? You offended them, what can you do? I'm afraid I won't be able to receive any letters in the future. Look at how promising you are. Lu Bachan calmed down and was a little annoyed. If a few of them retaliate against him, they may not even receive letters in the future. I want to beat myself on the head. However, the clothes, shoes and socks made by his wife were made for him by his wife, so he had to get them back. Kui Sheng looked at his unconvinced expression and sighed, can't you calm down your temper? Think about the pros and cons calmly before deciding on the next step. Lu Bachan was silent and looked up at him, where is the general? He has been restraining his temper, and only then was he bullied step by step. He didn't dare to say another word. Did those generals and captains switch to him one by one? Kui Sheng was stunned by the question. Sitting on the chair absent-mindedly. Has he restrained his temper too much? That makes people think he is weak and can be bullied. Lu Bachan ignored him and turned around and left the military tent. Su Qingnao had no idea that her 2 letters had caused quite a stir. In a blink of an eye, the first lunar month is coming soon. The snow on the mountains has not yet melted, and there are some scattered snow in the village. The snowdrifts that were swept in winter are still there. Xiaobao was wrapped up like a little bear by Su Qingyu and others. The small hands are wrapped, and the small face is also wrapped, only 2 big black eyes are exposed. He had suffered from frostbite, and Su Qingyu, Lu, and others were afraid of his recurrence and would not let him out of the house at all. But this child is also lively and active. I have never seen snow since I was born, and I get excited whenever I see snow. Especially when Ruyi and Xiu build a big snowman, they want to play even if they are making trouble. Siyuan couldn't resist his pleading and felt soft-hearted, so he would shovel a large basin of snow from time to time and carry the basin under the eaves for him to play with. Afraid that no one would play with him because he was cold, so he played with the 2 puppies. Make a ball of snow and throw it at the puppy. The puppy also cooperated with him, running around in the yard, and he threw the snow away without getting hit even once out of 10 times. Occasionally he got hit, probably because the puppy looked at him pitifully and couldn't bear to feel sad for him, so he stood and hit him. 1 person and 2 dogs have fun playing every day. Boundless joy. Although the weather is still very cold, there are many things going on in the village this year, and we have to start preparing for many things. Building a village is the top priority for each village. Ground preparation. It is estimated that it will take a long time to build roads and build houses. If Su Qingyu wants to speed up the time, she can only increase the manpower. Be sure to get everything done before spring plowing. This year she also wants to grow grain. She needs to level some fields to grow grain, and maybe open some terraces. In addition, she will raise white wax insects, plant bamboos, and integrate resources from various mountains in the spring. In order to facilitate communication with the caravan, she may also open a shop in Renzhou City. This way, there are many opportunities, and you can come into contact with caravans from all parties, and there will not be too many changes. It would be very dangerous if a caravan monopolized the price of materials. That's almost like working for that caravan. When doing business, you must have a say. At the end of the first year, Su Qingnao called Siyuan over and asked them to go to Renzhou and buy a large shop in the city. In addition, if there are some suitable people who can buy it back, preferably from farmers, who know the work in the fields or have special skills, they can bring them back to the village. Her mountain is going to be developed to synchronize with other villages. She had no manpower, so she had to ask Siyuan to take a look at the human teeth. Su Qingjao felt that buying someone now shouldn't cost a lot of money. I just don't know if I have the manpower available. Siyuan responded and left. After another 2 days, the first month came out. On the first day of February, all village owners gathered in Beijiazai again. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhjiaoye 11U. Chapter 228. 28 village owners gathered in Beijiazai. Times degree times. After a winter of cultivation, everyone has gained some weight more or less. All of them are in high spirits, with rosy complexions, broad hearts, and plump bodies. The bandits were driven away. Last winter, every family had meat and food. Although it was cold outside, it was warm and cozy inside, and you could sleep under the light of day. No one in the village froze to death or suffered frostbite. The old man and the child are also lively, which makes people happy to see them. It's a peaceful day that you can't even ask for. Although it was only February this time, the weather was still cold, and the snow had not yet melted in some places, but everyone felt like they were holding a fire in their hearts, and the ground was filled with warmth. Thinking about what to do next makes me feel full of energy. After climbing up the mountains and ridges to reach Beijiazai, it was very cold, but after drinking a bowl of hot ginger tea, I felt relieved again. Everyone understands that this year is the focus of development for each village. Building a community is the primary task of each village. Sukingneo served hot tea and hot food as usual, and braziers were placed in every corner of the room, all burning brightly. After everyone calmed down, he asked, "I asked you to arrange the labor list before the year, have you made the arrangements properly?" They all nodded. It's done, it's done. 30 strong laborers from each village, plus 20 women, have been arranged. Sukingyu nodded, yes. Did you get their consent? Don't force it. The village owners waved their hands one after another. No, no, you are paid 10 cents for a day's work, and 3 meals a day are included. Who wouldn't want to? Everyone is rushing to come. In the end, we have no choice but to draw lots. That's good. 30 strong laborers had to level the land, cut down trees, dig tree stumps, and lay bricks to build houses. They couldn't do these tasks without any strength. The women have to clear away the bushes and firewood, cook for everyone, do laundry, carry soil, and other tasks. The maximum construction period is 2 months. No more. In April we will start to level the mountains around the village and grow grain and various mountain products. All resources must be integrated and fully utilized, otherwise we will not be able to make enough time. Yes. We have more people. It should be completed in 2 months. Sukingyu nodded, I made a schedule. Each village owner will work in groups to supervise and inspect the quality of the project and manage and allocate personnel. Those who are procrastinating, not doing things thoroughly, failing to meet the quality standards, or making mistakes will be deemed right. Warning. If the situation is serious, this village will be withdrawn as a whole and we will not take them to play. They won't take us to play again. The village leaders wanted to complain in their hearts, Mr. President, don't just stop taking us to play. How many years have passed since I have been looking forward to a market in the mountains, so that people don't have to climb mountains and mountains to buy something. Everyone's eyes glowed green when they heard about it, and they were looking forward to it day and night, waiting for the work to start. You just said you won't take us to play? The villagers might even tear the village owners alive. The village leaders waved their hands and shook their heads, almost cursing and swearing, no, if anyone dares to make the slightest mistake, we will deal with him immediately and drive him out of the village. We will never let him enter the mountain again. Yes, yes, drive their whole family out of the village. Just have an attitude. I'm afraid that it's just a waste of money, and it doesn't matter what I do. Sukingyu secretly nodded and said, after the meeting, each village will send personnel to our gathering place. At the same time, the village will also start construction at the same time. Please circle the areas where mountainous areas can be opened. I drew the drawings and pressed drawing operations to create terraces in the mountains. Open terraces? Right. Food outside is sold at sky-high prices. We can't sell mountain products at high prices, and then buy food at high prices to eat. Those who endure hardship will not get much benefit in the end. It's not cost-effective. We still have to solve the problem of food ourselves. Question. If some villages cannot be leveled to create terraces, I will send someone to report it immediately after I go back and make another plan. Yes. Also, as I said last time, don't touch the ash trees in the collection. Please also go to each village and check the ash trees. If you find insect eggs, carefully remove them and put them in one place. Come and repay me quickly. Yes. Insect eggs? What does it look like? Some village owners wanted to ask, but seeing that everyone seemed to understand, they held back. If you ask, the president will think he is too arrogant. I don't even recognize the insect eggs. It will make the president feel that he has no knowledge. It would be bad if I didn't take him to play. Can't ask. It's better to ask other village owners. While he was thinking about it, he heard Sukingyu say again, as I told you last autumn, bamboos should be planted in spring. Each village can plant more bamboos according to the conditions in its own mountains. Harvest in spring and autumn. Bamboo shoots and bamboo fungus are also good. Okay. In addition, please go back to each village and see if there are people with special skills, such as blacksmithing, making furniture, or people who know medicine, know how to identify herbs, know how to plant, know how to keep bees, and other people with special skills, or no relevant people. Anyone can report it to me. In addition, you can also go back to the village and ask if anyone is willing to open a shop in Jili. Then I will coordinate the number of shops and the planning of houses and roads in Jili. Okay, I'll ask when I get back, each village responded while writing it down in a small notebook. Open a shop? One of the village owners was moved. After the meeting content is arranged, this spring mobilization meeting is over. Sukingyu's meeting went smoothly. It also relies on the active cooperation of the village owners. Maybe everyone has been holding back all winter and is gearing up to find something to do. After putting on so much fat in one winter, I have to look for opportunities to show it off, otherwise it will be in vain. Sukingyu's side was so successful that the mobilization meeting was completed, and Siyuan's side was also extremely smooth in Renzhou City. Nowadays, many businesses in the city are closed, with notices for sale or sublease. Siyuan bought a large 5-bay shop at a very low price without any effort. After settling the money with the store owner and passing the deed, the store owner took the money and left Renzhou City and returned to the countryside. Siyuan inspected the store. Sukingyu only asked them to buy the store, and did not tell them what to do after buying it. They just packed up and locked the store. Then went to the human teeth. After a winter month, more and more people are crowded in the crowd. They are all ordinary people who cannot survive, and they have to sell themselves to support their families. There are especially many people from the north. All of them are sallow and thin. Seeing the two of them coming in to buy someone, a bunch of people swarmed up and surrounded them, shouting, "Master, buy us. It doesn't cost any money, just give us a bite to eat." He grabbed Siyuan's clothes and wouldn't let them go, which frightened them both. The two ran away from Rinya and went to the governor's house to inquire about it before they understood the reason. The two brothers were stunned after hearing this, which subverted their three views. I don't know whether to say MMP or not. Of course they didn't understand either, but that didn't stop them from scolding him. "Madam, she has a tender heart." Author, Bhaya 11U. Chapter 229. The influx of so many people into Renzhou this time was entirely due to the northern Wanghu attack on Quanzhou. Read. Wanghu's sexy moves shocked countless people in the world. To avenge his younger brother, he led hundreds of thousands of troops out to encircle and suppress the small Quanzhou. Heroes from all sides thought Wanghu was loyal and a man at first. "I am more willing to come over and share the world with him." So everyone was on their way to defect. But Wanghu, who had been unable to attack Quanzhou for a long time, ran out of food. "If we run out of food, please tell Wanghu, please wait a moment, otherwise you will withdraw from Quanzhou and make other plans in the future. Kill him as a comeback. It's never too late for a gentleman to take revenge in 10 years or something." Unexpectedly, Wanghu, made an incomprehensible operation, capturing the people and eating them raw. What kind of cool operation is this? Throw people into a giant pot and eat them alive with bones and skin. Is this something humans do? Originally, the Shuo dynasty was in a state of decay, and everyone wanted to overthrow it. By holding high the banner of justice, Wang Hu has won the hearts of many ordinary people who could not live any longer. It is said that he who wins the hearts of the people wins the world. People from all over the country joined the army one after another. Wang Hu also became emperor twice, and the market was very good. Everyone who followed Wang Hu seemed to see the dawn of victory. Unexpectedly, I heard this news. Everyone was shocked. Originally, the Shuo dynasty was divided into three major factions. One is the royalist faction. The Shuo dynasty was orthodox, although it was in tatters, but maybe it would be better if there was a different emperor? There are not a few people who hold this idea. No one wants to change the dynasty. Therefore, the royalists still have the support of many people. The other faction is the rebel faction in Wang Hu. The common people could no longer survive, and were in dire straits. Suddenly, they heard a private salt dealer shouting for help, saying that he would lead everyone to survive. It was almost impossible to survive. Maybe you could do something big by following Wang Hu, so heroes from all walks of life joined him one after another. This party was extremely disappointed with Shuo Chao. It feels like the roots are rotten, and the mud can no longer support the wall. I looked forward to overturning it day and night. There is nothing wrong with changing dynasties. Besides, didn't your Shuo dynasty also rob someone else's court? Everyone accepts the change of dynasty and other things well. The other faction, on the other hand, relies on no one. I look down upon both groups. Generally speaking, there are two types, wait and see and accumulation of strength. Some of them are on the fence, and whoever wins in the end will be the boss. Part of it was that Emperor Shuo didn't like it, and neither did the Qi dynasty in Wang Hu. Maybe there is a third party? And how much better can Wang Hu be than Shuo Huang? When we first invaded Chang'an, the ministers below the fourth rank were retained, and all the ministers above the fourth rank were killed. All the people who had been hiding in the countryside or in the mountains were picked out, and no one in the family was spared. And even the ministers below the fourth rank are not doing well. Can Wang Hu's men coexist peacefully with these old ministers? In the end, he was belittled and killed. Almost all the aristocratic families and ministers who had stayed in Chang'an during the Shuo dynasty were killed. Can any knowledgeable person in the world vote for Wang Hu? Originally, Wang Hu had won a lot of power from Shuo dynasty's vassal towns and many military towns to vote for him, and he was constantly consuming Shuo dynasty's main troops. The Shuo dynasty no longer has much binding force on the military towns. As long as Wang Hu remains strong, it will be easy for him to become bigger and stronger. But he surrounded and suppressed Quanzhou with hundreds of thousands of troops just to avenge Mengkai. If the attack goes in, everyone will naturally be happy and more people will come to vote. But after being unable to attack for a long time, they ran out of food and refused to give up. No one has such a stubborn temper. Then when they ran out of food, they came up with a way to capture the people alive and eat them alive. How can an army leader like Ma Mingguan, who has a bottom line in his heart, continue to follow Wang Hu? That must not be the case. The day after Ma Mingguan learned the news, he led his troops to turn around and head south. The people in the north originally wanted to defect to Wang Hu. See how loyal they were. After their general died, they led hundreds of thousands of troops to avenge him. They were so moved. Tears flowed freely. I just hope to follow such a person, and be willing to recognize such a person who is willing to protect my younger brother as a big brother. Look at how Emperor Shuo killed so many of his civil and military officials at the beginning. Later, when he recaptured Chang'an, the families of those ministers were not even comforted. We must go to Wang Hu. Can't be attacked by hundreds of thousands of troops. It's okay, we're here. They all headed north. The common people first wanted to have a bite to eat, but now only in the army can they have a bite to eat. The second is to pursue a great career and return home in glory after becoming famous. But I didn't expect to hear Wang Hu's sexy moves while still halfway. They were all stunned. After coming back to his senses, he ran southward. I was afraid of being caught and thrown into a stone pile. When I was running, I hated my parents for missing 2 legs. So a bunch of people came to Renzo who sold themselves out. Let's see yuan by many people without spending any money. There is no need to go to Renyaza. When you are walking on the street, someone will pick off your trousers and ask for help. The 2 brothers couldn't bear it, so they accepted a bunch of people. When I returned to the village, a long line of people followed me. Those who saw it from a distance thought that a large force was coming and fled in all directions. Sukingyu was stunned when she looked at the long list of men, women, old and young, sallow, skinny, and disheveled people. Let the 2 of them watch and buy some people back, but not let them recruit an army. How many people are there? Are there dozens of people there? The 2 brothers were a little uneasy when they saw Sukingyu standing there stunned for a moment. They looked at each other, glanced at each other, scratched their heads, and glared at each other. I told you not to accept so many people, but you still accept them. You are so soft-hearted and you still blame me. It sounds like you are not soft-hearted. Snort. Sukingyu swallowed hard. It was her money. How much has been spent? Have you spent all the money? No, I just spent some money to buy the shop, and these people didn't spend much money. When we went to the yamen to sign the deed, Mr. Pei was there, but they didn't confiscate our money. They also said that we had done a good thing and gave it to Ren. Zhou Cheng has solved the problem. Mr. Pei has a headache when he sees so many people coming in, and he doesn't know how to deal with it. No money? And you signed the contract? Sukingyu thought she heard wrongly. It's signed. Mr. Pei said that anyone who refuses to sign the deed of sale cannot be brought into the village. Huh? So many people are willing to sign a contract of sale. It seems that many of them have families, and they look like a family. Are the whole family willing to sell them and give them to others? What do you think? Some people in the team saw that Sukingyu, who was in charge, had not spoken for a long time, and thought they were no longer needed. He knelt down and begged, "My boss, please, take us in. We can do anything. Just don't eat us. We can do any job, please." Ate them? Does she look like a glutton? Sukingyu was a little confused as she watched more and more people kneel down to beg her. Look at Si Yuan. The 2 brothers sighed, pulled Sukingyu aside, and told Wang Hu all about his sexy tricks. Sukingyu was dumbfounded after hearing this. Is this something a human being can do? Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bha Xiaoye 11U. Chapter 230. After Sukingyu heard this, she didn't come back to her senses for a long time. Forgive her for coming from a civilized world. When she heard such things, she thought she was listening to a book from heaven. My God, what kind of cool operation is this? You are out of food, so you are a coward. Are you a coward? Won't you withdraw your troops? Don't they say it's never too late for a gentleman to take revenge? Do you have to knock Chenzhou down immediately? A person who has been an emperor really doesn't have any debtors at all, so he has to insist on not giving in and fight to the death? It just hurts the general public. Everyone, get up. Since you are willing to sell yourself to me, I will naturally take you in. As long as you don't commit adultery, don't cheat, and are willing to obey my orders, you will naturally be able to eat. Thank you, hostess, thank you, hostess. Sukingyu couldn't recognize so many people. They were all disheveled and couldn't see their original faces. Sukingyu only took a brief look at it. There were men and women, many young and strong, and there were more than a dozen elderly and children. When such a large group of people entered the village, the people on duty had already reported to the Zongjai master, and there were also a bunch of people from the village who followed the Zongjai master. Knowing that it was the servant bought by Su Qingyu, I felt a little stunned. How much does this cost? Do you need so many people to serve you? Once he heard what happened to them again, he was immediately relieved. Are the people outside living in such misery? With no food to eat, are you ready to eat people? Looking at them, and then looking at myself, I feel so lucky. The soft-hearted people looked disheveled and had a pair of shoes with holes on their feet in such a cold weather. Especially when there were so many old people and children, their hands and feet were red, and the soft-hearted people shed tears. Qing Lao, how are we going to accommodate so many people? The leader of Zongjai was sympathetic and worried about the swelling. So many people came, which was half the number of people in the village now. I don't know if we can coexist peacefully. He is a man who just wants to live a peaceful life. The people in the village are all well informed. When Si Yuan heard the question from the Zongjai leader, he realized that they had taken in so many people and had not even thought about how to resettle them in the future. Miss Su Qingyu waved her hands at them. She knew what they were going to say. After thinking for a while, he said, "You two know the caves where we grew vegetables before. There are some small caves nearby that we abandoned before. You can take them there to settle temporarily." Yes, the two of them were quite embarrassed, as if they had taken matters into their own hands. After Su Qingyu finished giving instructions to them, he turned back to the Zhone village master and the villagers. Said, "Sorry to disturb everyone. They will be temporarily placed in the cave of the mountain next door. After a period of time, I will move them away. You can avoid going there during this period. In addition, whose home if you have extra old and unused pots and pans, clothing, shoes, socks, fire pots and barrels, you can bring them over and I will pay for them. No money, if you don't mind, I have some old clothes and quilts at home, I'll go back and get them. I have one at home too. This winter we have a hot pot and table. It's not cold at all, and I haven't used any of the winter clothes I have prepared at home. I'll go get it. There is a fire table. The fire pots and barrels at home are all unused, so I will go and get them. I also have many pots and pans at home, so I will go and get them too." The villagers were very enthusiastic and immediately went home to get their things. Dozens of people stood there, shivering from the cold and feeling uneasy. They were relieved to learn that they were taken in. Lu and Ruyi also sympathized with them, and they were both servants of their own family, so they immediately went back to move things. After a while, various families in the village moved in all kinds of things, including food and clothing. "Xiu'er, help me record what everyone has given me." Okay, upon hearing this, Xiu'er immediately took out her notebook and memorized it. Su Qingyu didn't want to get the things sent by the villagers in vain. We still have to give money to the villagers. It's not easy for everyone, and it's not like every household doesn't need these things. Nowadays, everyone lives frugally, and repairs and patches can last a long time. And favors should be used once and less often. Si Yuan, you two take these things and lead them over. Seeing how cold they were, Su Qingyu asked Si Yuan and the others to lead them over. Yes. In addition, you will make a personal profile of them in a while, including their name, place of origin, family size, what skills they have, and so on. Yes, they were familiar with the personnel files. They had seen Su Qingyu make personnel files for each village before. A crowd of people followed him away. Su Qingyu stood there and stared at the backs of the crowd for a long time. She wanted to buy some people, mainly to develop and manage her mountain. I hope there are some farmers who know how to take care of the soil and are responsible people, so that we can arrange for them to plant something on the mountain in the spring. Who knew that so many people would come to her all of a sudden? There were dozens of people older than me. Although I didn't spend much money to buy them, they still needed food, drink, shelter, and clothing. We couldn't let them live in caves all the time. Headache. The money I earned from selling tea seeds last year was not even enough to cover my income. After returning home, Sukingyu ordered Lu and Ruyi, "You two call some diligent women in the village to help make food and drink and send them over there. When you leave later, you then ask some men in the village to help carry some food, and tell them that they will cook the next meal. You two will see if there are enough cooking pots, and then come back and think of something." Yes. Also, you talk to those women and see what kind of work they do, housework and so on. You two can help distribute them there. Don't have a bunch of people without a leader, and they will be in chaos. Yes. The mother and daughter agreed and quickly made preparations. Ruyi went to call for help, while Lu returned to the kitchen to prepare food. Sukingyu also went to the kitchen to take a look. The family had prepared enough food to last until spring, but when dozens of people came, they couldn't last more than a few days. Have to buy some more. Sukingneo called Shiuer again, took a look at the book she recorded, and together with her calculated the prices of the old things that the villagers had taken, and asked her to help them make a trip and give them the money. They bought it. He also asked Shiuer to ask at each of their homes if they had any extra food that they could sell to her. "Okay, I'll go right away. By the way, Shiuer, where is Cyprus? I haven't seen anyone for a few days." "He went to Jianji," Shiuer said with lowered eyes. "Ah. Didn't you let him stay in the village? Your grandfather and I have something to ask him to do from time to time, and he's not on the list either." Shiuer pinched the corner of her clothes and didn't dare to look at Sukingyu. She felt a little regretful in her heart. It seemed that Sister Su wanted to tell Baishu to do something, but she ran away in anger. If Sister Su comes to see him for something, I'll have someone replace him." Sukinjeo looked at her doubtfully. "Aren't you two okay? Are you causing trouble again?" Sukinjeo also couldn't understand these two people. They were originally a pair of affectionate little childhood sweethearts. They got engaged when they were young because Shiuer encountered a bandit. She felt that she was not worthy of Baishu, but Baishu didn't care and still wanted to get married to her. The two of them tortured each other a lot last year. Looking at the winter, they have already made an agreement and they no longer avoid each other. Is this something going on again? Seeing that she didn't want to talk about it anymore, Sukingyu waved her away. "Okay, just don't regret it. I like Baisha very much. Otherwise, when I have a meeting with other village owners next time, I'll ask them if they have a suitable candidate. He's the only one left in Baisha's family, so it's not good to stay forever. Being alone, we still have to carry on the family lineage." When Chiu heard this, she looked up at Sukingyu and hesitated to speak. "You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Madam, she has a tender heart." Author, Bhyaoye 11U. Chapter 231. Sukingyu thought she would say something, but she didn't say anything. She pursed her lips and ran away with the money. This kid. Worrying people. Lu and Ruyi took the women from the village to prepare the food and moved to the cave. Villagers came one after another to sell grain, and Sukingyu also bought them. Ask some men in the village to help deliver it. The warehouse at home suddenly became quite empty. After everyone left, there were only Sukingyu, Xiaobao, and two puppies at home. Sukingyu played with Xiaobao for a while, but soon some brothers and sisters came to play with Xiaobao. Now the children no longer peel tea seeds. They have nothing to do and are running around in the village. Xiaobao has more playmates again. Seeing Xiaobao running and jumping behind several older children, Sukingyu watched with a smile. Why doesn't anyone come to play with her? A lot of things came to her. Worry. Sukingyu turned around and went into the room to make various plans. She likes to do things in a planned way, and doesn't like to pick things here and there. When there is an emergency, if the threads are messy, she doesn't know which end to grab. In the end, I might not be able to do either end well. When Si Yuan came back with a thick personnel file, Sukingyu had already completed all the plans for the spring. Due to an unexpected incident, dozens of people came at once, which disrupted her plan, so she added it to the plan. Miss, everything is set up. Lived in 5 caves. Ah, I remember there were many small caves nearby. Those caves were not big, so I didn't ask for them when I was growing vegetables. How come there are so many people living in only 5 caves? Many of them are from the same family. Bar. The 2 brothers nodded. Yes, there are many families. But the weather is too cold, and there is not enough firewood now, so we let them live together for the time being, otherwise they will have to burn a lot of firewood. And there are not enough pots and pans. Sukingyu nodded. The firewood matter is easy to solve. After they settle down, let them go up the mountain to pick it up on their own. The pots and pans may require a hard trip for both of you. You 2 will go to Renzo again. Well, you don't have to go to Renzo. Go to the nearby Beipi and Gongzi counties to see if there are any pots and pans, and buy some food back. Yes. He stopped them again and said, by the way, I haven't asked you yet, are these people really willing to sign the autobiography? Both brothers nodded. Yes, miss, I asked them one by one before letting them sign the sign of prostitution. Anyway, there are still a lot of people who are unwilling to sign. There is no need to bring back some of them. Hard man. Si Yuan continued, I have talked with some of them. They said that in this world, ordinary people cannot survive without the protection of big families. The court has to recruit soldiers from time to time. Selling yourself to others, although you lose your freedom, you don't have to. You can survive if you worry about being beaten. Sukingyu sighed after hearing this. This campaign has been going on for years, and soldiers have been added every year, but I don't know when it will end. After the 2 went down, Sukingyu looked through the personnel files in his hands. Of the 65 people, 25 were alone, and the others were all with families. Those who have families don't look very neat. Either they are missing grandparents, or they are missing father and mother, they are either orphans or widowers, or they are one father with 2 children. There are also a few who are single sisters and only brothers, and they are missing both parents and grandparents. Sukingyu looked at it and sighed. In this world, how many people can survive as a whole family? Looking at the people's place of origin, almost all of them fled from the north. Fortunately, conscription is not very frequent in the south. The cost of recruiting soldiers in the south and sending them to the north and the central plains is too high and not cost-effective. Therefore, conscription over the years has mostly been in the central plains and northern regions. Preventing foreign invasion is also more common in the northern region. As soon as the people in the south heard about the conscription, everyone fled into the mountains. No army had the energy to capture people in the mountains. Are you free, or is the battle situation not tense enough? Looking at resumes, there are many bankers. On the contrary, Sukingyu discovered a lot of talents inside. Are there actually literate people? Is there anyone who knows about medicinal materials? Sukingyu was overjoyed. She once coveted the mountains. These rolling green mountains were a natural medicine storehouse, with so many rich medicinal herb resources. It's a pity that she doesn't know about medicinal herbs. Now that we have been fighting for many years, we are facing a shortage of food and medicine. It was necessary to open terraced fields to grow food, but she also wanted to find people to look for medicinal materials in the mountains, which would definitely be sold for a lot of money. And if some medicinal fields can be opened in the mountains to grow some commonly used medicinal materials in large quantities that are urgently needed outside, there will be no shortage of money. Sukingyu was a little moved. It seems like it will take a while to get to know these talented people. It can't be buried. When Lu and Ruyi came back, Sukingyu called mother and daughter over again and asked them again. Miss, they are so miserable. They only have the clothes on their bodies and nothing. Many of them have been hungry for several days. They can't even climb up to the entrance of the cave halfway up the mountain, and they have to be dragged and carried. We sent them away. When they took the food, they wolfed it down like hungry wolves. Many people in the village originally came to watch the excitement, but they couldn't help but shed tears when they saw them. After hearing this, Mr. Lu sighed, if we hadn't met the governor's wife and young lady, we would be just like them now. Both our mother and daughter are of the female generation, and they may have passed away long ago. Ruyi said, yes, thank you Mrs. Ma and Miss Ma for taking me and my mother in. We have food and drink in the village, eat well and sleep warmly, but the people outside can't even have a full meal. From now on I'm just in the mountains with the lady, not going anywhere. Sukingneo gave her a funny look, aren't you going anywhere? Are you going to be an old aunt at home? Are you not getting married anymore? When Ruyi heard this, she blushed and stamped her feet, Miss. Even if you get married, you will marry in the mountains. It's too scary outside, and they will eat people. I don't want to go outside. Lu nodded in agreement. The mountains are nice and quiet. Like the lady said, reclusive and independent. It would be nice to be in peace. Moreover, there is no shortage of food and drink in the mountains. Besides, they are already building a market in the mountains. There will be more things to sell in the future, so they don't want to go outside. In the evening, Sukingyu thought about how to distribute these people. I stared at the personnel files for a long time before falling asleep. The next day, they handed Xiaobao to the Lu family and their daughter, and ran away with Xiu holding the personnel file booklet, regardless of him yelling at him to get out of the way. Bad girl, don't take Xiaobao with you. She stomped her feet angrily. Ruyi hurriedly comforted him, your mother has to do something, and she has to climb a mountain. She can't climb it with Xiaobao. You can crawl. Be good, little baby, and walk on your own. Xiaobao can't walk. Humph, I can walk. After speaking, he struggled to break free from Ruyi's arms, jogged a few steps forward, and then looked back at Lu and Ruyi. Ruyi couldn't hold it back and laughed. Seeing him look so cute when he's angry, I really want to hug him and give him a kiss. He hurriedly ran over and hugged him. Okay, our little baby can walk. Look, isn't it walking very well? When your mother comes back in a while, we will walk to show her, okay? Xiaobao chirped angrily and nodded, okay, let's show it to my mother. Xiaobao can walk. I think Xiaobao is chasing him away, so he doesn't take Xiaobao with him. Bad girl. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bh Yaoye 11U. Chapter 232. When Sukingyu arrived at the cave, dozens of people had already gotten up. Reading some diligent people are already helping to mend and tidy up the cave. There is no shortage of water in the mountains. There is mountain spring water after leaving the cave. Dozens of people have taken care of themselves with the mountain spring water. If you have clean clothes to change into, you can't get them dirty again. In the past, some people may have looked down upon these old clothes, but now they have all been worn all winter and have not been changed. Now they cherish them very much and have taken care of themselves. When Sukingyu arrived, she saw someone who had already cleaned herself up. Compared with what I saw yesterday, it is completely new. My boss. My boss. Seeing Sukingyu, everyone said hello one after another. Yesterday, I heard from Siyuan and others that Sukingyu was the president of the Alliance of the 28 Villages, and I felt that I should not underestimate the woman in front of me. Many people greeted her and looked at her. The more powerful his boss is, the safer he is and can be protected by her. No one wants to be homeless anymore. We have had enough of being on tenterhooks. Sukingyu nodded towards them. I looked into every hole. Seeing that everyone was settled properly, I felt relieved. At one of the larger cave entrances, he stopped and called everyone together. You all will live here temporarily. Over 2 mountains from here, there is a mountain I bought. Originally, I only planned to reclaim that mountain and plant some things, but now I may need to make some changes. There are so many people here at once, and I have to give you a place to live. You can't live in a cave forever. So I decided to build some houses on that mountain and become a new village like Beiji as I hear. From now on, you will be a member of the new village. If your descendants want to stay in this mountain, they can always live with you in the village. Have they become a member of Xinzai? Everyone was a little excited. They also want to have a family. But you need to build this new village by yourself. I will draw a drawing for you as to what kind of building it should be. The required wood, bamboo, and field soil are all taken from the mountains. I will find someone to purchase other needed items. Yes. Seeing that they all understood, Sukingyu began to look through the personnel files in his hand and began to name names. Among these 65 people, there were masons, carpenters, blacksmiths, and some who had opened shops and been shopkeepers. Sukingyu planned to focus on getting to know these people first. First, call all the people who have the skills to get to know them and make them look familiar. If you have a skill, you will be able to gain importance wherever you go. If he is a good person, he will become her right-hand man in the future. She is now very busy and has no one at hand. Gu Honged. I'm here. Gu Honged heard Sukingneo calling him and hurriedly pulled his little grandson out. His grandson took his arm timidly and hid behind him. Don't mind, boss, my grandson was scared all the way. Gu Honged hurriedly explained when he saw that his grandson Gu Siming was hiding and not talking to Sukingyu. Sukingneo wouldn't care about a child. Moreover, the grandfather and grandson are the only 2 people left in the family. The grandson may have seen something terrible on the road, so he is still very uneasy when he arrives in a new place. It's okay. I saw that you have opened a private school and been a private school teacher? Scholar, you sell yourself, Sukingneo asked with some confusion. Gu Honged sighed, Miss, haven't you heard that sentence? The most useless thing is a scholar. After studying for a lifetime, I was just a child and made no progress. I just opened a small private school in the countryside. We're just taking in some school children from the neighborhood to eat. We can't carry them on our shoulders or carry them with our hands. All the family members went to protect our grandsons along the way. As he spoke, Gu Honged raised his hand and wiped his tears with his sleeves. What's the use of my life? I don't know anything, I can't even feed my grandchildren. He looked quite lonely. In this world, if you don't have enough to eat, who would go to a private school to study? It is impossible to survive. Sukingyu thought for a while, looked at his grandson, and flipped through the files. Gu Siming, 7 years old, had studied with his grandfather for several years. I'm afraid that the old and the young really can't do much. Then he said, well, you help me keep a record every day. During the construction of the stronghold in the mountains, you will organize and record all the materials coming in and out, all the food these people eat, and all the things I moved here. You grandson, he has also read books and asked him to follow you and do some small jobs. Yes, yes. Thank you, boss, thank you, boss. Gu Honged felt happy and hurriedly took his grandson to thank Sukingneo. I was excited. It finally worked. I'm afraid that people will think that they are old, and that the old man and the young child can only eat and cannot work, so they will be abandoned. Xiangshang, Sukingyu called another person's name. The man named Xiangshang stood up immediately, my boss. Seeing Sukingyu nodding towards him, he introduced the people around him to Su Qingyu. His father Xiangzhen, his wife Xiang Tianqi, and his son Xiang Jia. Su Qingyu took a look at this family. This family is a relatively neat family among all the people. Maybe both father and son have opened a shop and been a shopkeeper, so they should have some knowledge and be able to protect the family all the way to the south. Then he said, "Your family, 3 generations of ancestors and grandchildren, is quite well organized. They have done business and opened shops. If you join a high-class family, you will not have to worry about having no way out. My place is closed in the mountains, and there is nothing to stand out. Chance. My boss is serious. We had a small amount of savings before, but we were just working as doormen for big families. It doesn't matter who we work for. If it were a peaceful time, we would also be willing to be free men. But in troubled times, ordinary people can't live at all. If we don't go down, the 3 generations of my father and son will just be caught as young men outside, and they will still be quiet in this mountain." After Su Qingyu heard this, he took a look at Xiang Shang. Seeing that he was neither humble nor arrogant, nor was he as downtrodden as others, this family could come from the hinterland of the Central Plains to the south, and they looked shrewd and had a plan in mind. Then he said, "I'm just afraid that the temple here is too small." When Xiang Shang heard this, he immediately knelt down. "My boss, our family sincerely signed the contract of sale. We are willing to follow my boss. Shang Jia is still young, I just hope that he can grow up safely. My father and son almost died. If someone is captured by the army, it will be impossible for the mother and son to survive alone. And these days, we don't have enough to eat, we can't make money by opening a shop, and we have to be exploited in various ways. We have no channels to purchase goods, we don't have customers, and we don't even make enough money to pay taxes. We don't know how to farm. Others don't want us." As soon as Xiang Shang knelt down, his father Shang Zhen and his wife Xiang Tianqi also pulled their son Xiang Jia to kneel down. Xiang Tian immediately wiped away tears. If he was driven away, where would he go? The husband and father-in-law are 2 strong men who only know how to count beads, and they will be stared at when they go out. If they were caught and had no skills at all, how would she and Jia survive if they had an emergency? While thinking about it, I wiped away my tears. Su Qingyu sighed. "Get up. I'm not used to forcing others. If you want to join me, you can stay. If you don't want to, you can leave even if you feel aggrieved by signing the contract. I won't stop you. If you want to leave in the future, you can just say so. But once if you are my person, you must listen to me. If you make some small moves in private, I will not forgive you. Don't worry, boss, we all sincerely trust you." As soon as Su Qingyu said those words, everyone knelt down to express their stance. Su Qingyu shouted, "It takes time to see people's hearts. At this moment, nothing could be seen. In the future, use it if it can be used. If it cannot be used, there are ways to deal with it."